All right, good evening. I've got 6:30, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the October 9th meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Let's see, who do we have? Who are we missing? And I've heard from Dave. I know Dave won't be here. Gage is not here. Forget who was last month. Tom, would you sit in as a voting member for Gage tonight? I'd like to welcome Danielle. If you haven't had a chance to meet her, she was came to the appointment committee interview and was subsequently approved by the town councils. So she's with us, and we do have Gage, so disregard. So welcome, Danielle. We have no public hearing scheduled for tonight. So that'll bring us to the first order of business under new business, which is Colt Refining Incorporated is the applicant. King Herrick LLC and Evan Realty LLC are the owners. It's a review for recommendation to the planning board regarding a site plan to construct a 97,600 square foot light industrial facility with associated site improvements. The parcels are located at 12A Star Drive and unnumbered parcels off Herrick Street and King Street in the I-1 Industrial Aquifer Conservation Districts. The tax map is 3D-1, lots 2 and 1, or lots 2-1 and 2-1, and tax map 3D2, lot 2-1 also. So, sir, were you able to put your the materials you need? If you would, just come up and state your name for the record, and I guess start with give us a high-level overview of the project. We did get several things in our read-ahead packets to include this, this and the plot, the site plans. We also got a copy of the stormwater management report. The full copy, there's one printed version circulating, but everyone had it in their email also. And make sure your bright green light is on that microphone, would you?
There we go.
And could I have your name for the record, sir?
Yes. Good evening, members of Merrimack Conservation Commission. I'm Jason Hill with TF Moran. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and the owner. As you mentioned, there's 4 properties shown on this plan. Sorry, it's behind you, but
It's on our computers, actually.
oh, good. Yeah, I figured. Good. So we're talking about this vicinity, which is the 4 existing properties in the industrial 1 zone. This is the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. We're on the north side of Star Drive and on the east side of the DW Highway. This is an aerial map showing the existing facility. This is for Colt Refining. This is an expansion of their current operations to construct a new facility for basically future growth for the company. We are looking at the existing facility here, the access off of Star Drive, the abutting to an industrial area surrounded by some industrial properties. The site is bounded by Herrick Street, which is a side street dead end off of the DW Highway. This is north of the Amoskeag facility, maybe a mile or something north of the Amoskeag facility. And then so we're surrounded by, we have a rail trail or a rail road, an active railroad. The Merrimack River to the east, and then the property itself is here, the existing property and the existing operations. And then we're talking about this land to the west and to the north, where vacant properties been disturbed, they've been disturbed and cleared. There's kind of some shrubbery growing up on the property. There's a little strand of trees to the north. Otherwise, it's all shrubbery and overgrown brush. So this is the vicinity. This is a view of the existing driveway access off of Star Drive, looking north. These are abutting industrial uses. The site itself is back here. You can see a trailer, a parked trailer. I should just tell you a little bit about what they do. So basically, this is an expansion of the coal refining operations at the existing 12A Star Drive property. They are a e-scrap dismantling company. They break down electronic products, supply raw material feedstock to aluminum mills, copper mills, smelts, and as well as their Merrimack refining operations, which also exist on this property. So they do two things in this building, as well as in some other properties in the southern New Hampshire area, and refining and recycling. So the refining end of the business consists of manual disassembly, automated mechanical shredding, waste handling, sorting, packaging, secure data destruction, and then asset recovery of like precious metals that are in like computers, cell phones, other products. So that's what they do is they refine and recycle those materials, and it's all shipped off site in trucks, and they do the work inside, all of it. So that's what the business does. This is going to be, like I said, an expansion of the current operations based on future demand projections. This will employ approximately 60-ish new employees, as well as it'll have a new the new loading area for the truck deliveries will butt up against the existing. There's a loading area that they'll share, and that was part of the fundamental, site design constraints, was to minimize the amount of paving by sharing the loading, by having the loading docks face each other. So that's little bit about the business. We have to meet with the planning board for site approval, obviously. We've submitted our site plans.
And when do you meet with them?
Next, I submitted for the 17th. I have to check the agenda.
Yep.
We also have to go to the zoning board the following week for basically a special exception for some wetland buffer impacts, very minimal wetland buffer impact. And so the plan is basically for Colt to, by the end of next year, occupy this new building. So that's going to be quite a feat of construction, to make that happen. So we're obviously on the track of that, and I'm working with them guys and others. So I just want to give you a background, and I'll just finish walking through everything. We can talk. This is the existing front door, main entrance to the existing operations. There's an office area here, and then the warehouse and the processing, shredding and refining occurs in the back. You can see those are trailers for deliveries. There's a large trailer parking area in the back and around the side. So this is looking north at the front main entrance to the existing facility. This is a view from Herrick Street looking across the property. So those trees are the trees that I talked about at the north side of the existing site. And that's the existing Colt refining is basically back here behind these trees. We're looking at the western edge of the western parcel. So there's a west parcel and a north parcel that abut the existing operations. Those will be merged into one parcel. So I'm basically looking across the site to the east of the existing conditions, which I described as mainly shrubbery, overgrown with a small amount of woodland. This is just a up close view at the north side of the site of just the ground cover, looking into the proposed site south. Similarly, this is an old shed at the north side of the project. There's an old abandoned garage or shed here. This is looking at the existing Colt facility, which is behind these trees. And this is the proposed location of the project. So we're standing at the north side, basically at the northerly abutting property line, looking directly south. This is all upland vegetation. There's no wetlands on the proposed site itself. There's some wetlands on the existing property. Just a final view of the ground conditions. This is a proposed site plan that shows the existing facility here, the Star Drive access coming from the south, and the proposed new facility in orange. Here's the loading dock area. It's concrete, and that's abutting the existing loading docks here. So this will be the shared loading area for tractor trailers. This will be a fleet, a trailer parking area for extra trailers. You said they were parked along the side of the driveway now, so they have surplus trailers for deliveries and such that they store, and this will be a trailer storage area with this just box trucks, box trailers. This is a new site driveway off of Herrick Street for the employee access. The trucking will come from the south, but the employee access for the new project will come off of Herrick Street via this driveway. This is the parking area for the facility. This is the main. Sorry.
That's the abandoned shed you were saying right there?
Yeah, it's like in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see it underlaying
no, I
barely.
see it.
That's the abandoned shed shown in the drawings. Yes. And so this will be the parking, and then the main entry for the office space. There'll be a small amount of office space in this north side of the site. This is just a service drive around the back over here. And this is open space over here. And this is abutting. There's some type of a testing facility to the north. This here is the location of the two minor wetland buffer impacts are shown on this overall. It's the same plan that we just looked at in black and white. So this area here, there's an existing water line with a hydrant right here that's within the 25-foot buffer, and we have to dig in that to put in the new connection point to the new water line for fire service and domestic service for the new facility. There's also a small impact associated with drainage of this project in the buffer to a channel, an unnamed channel, which is a municipal easement channel. So there's some town drainage that also flows through here. There's a culvert under the railroad, 36-inch culvert here. So we're proposing to outlet some of the water at that location and to construct the pipe and just do a head wall. We have a minor impact to that wetland buffer. There's no impacts to wetland areas on this project. This plan is just showing those buffer areas, 160 square feet of impacts for it's temporary impact because it'll be re-grassed over and it will not be a permanent improvement on the ground. This will be a underneath pipeline, so it's a temporary impact of 160 square feet to the wetland buffer. This is the buffer impact for the storm drain I talked about. It would be permanent impact. We're going to replant the area with the existing condition is like some woodland area. It's on the edge of a woodland, and we replant that with some shrubbery, wetland type buffer plantings. But we're proposing a outlet here, and so there's 410 square feet of impact to that wetland buffer. This is a report that basically indicates that was done by a wetland scientist that indicates there will not be any degradation to the wetlands functions and values as a result of the project. I have hard copies of that report. I did submit it to the zoning board, but the conclusions are all such that this will not create any issues with regard to wetland functions and values. This is nothing. This is the area, and I'm almost done. I just want to show you some pictures. This here is the area of the water line extension that I'm talking about. You can see the hydrant. So this is the wetland buffer that I'm talking about that would be cut into to put in a new water line for 140 square feet, roughly like in this region right here. This is just a view from another direction. There's the hydrant. So we're talking like this area right in here would be excavated for a new water line. This is that drainage swale that I talked about, where the head wall would outlet in that vicinity for the stormwater. There's an existing conveyance drainage swale. You can see there's water in it. That just drains into that culvert under the railroad. And here's a picture of the culvert right here that drains underneath the railroad. So the new head wall would come in like out here, and it'd be an apron, riprap apron, just a small one, and the water would flow into it with treated stormwater runoff. And this is just a view from like down in the wetland area looking up this slope. So the edge of the work would be way at the top up here for that drainage outlet. And then finally, this is a picture, not that you need, just because this is a picture of the conceptual or preliminary architectural elevation showing the north side of the building in the middle. This view the main office entry sequences, and this is the loading area. And then this is the side of the building via Aho Construction Inc. And that is it. I'm here to answer any questions and seeking, I'd like to have some, obviously depends on your all's opinion of the project, but to report to the planning board, you know, in support of the project, if we can, whatever we can do to, however that ends up being, but that's, would be my main objective. So
I
thank
think
you
we
all.
can get to that. We probably will have just a few questions.
No problem.
Did you bring up a site plan, an overall site plan?
Do you want the colored one, sir, or would you like the, I can have a black and white, do you want to start with the overall?
Black and white's fine with me, unless
Okay.
someone else has got it.
I'll put the overall up to
Please,
start
thank
with. Okay.
I did not see the the drain report.
I did. I had it. I looked at the summaries. It showed either, 2, 5, 10, and 25 and 50 year all either stayed the same or went down.
Okay.
I have that here.
We have enhanced treatment on this project because we have more, and that's what led to the need for the wetland buffer impact, is because of this project is unique from some other projects in Merrimack because it has effectively within effectively the Saint Gobain plume.
Mhm.
It has a official doctrine that I'm not coming up with the name of it. The consent decree. This area is within the consent decree. Therefore, we can infiltrate runoff, which we are doing on this site where we can. The soils up here are really shallow to the water table on this side of the site. On the north side, they're very good sandy soils. So we're taking the runoff from the north and we're putting that in the ground and treating it for groundwater recharge, which is what you want in the Aquifer
Right.
Protection District. I cleared that with the AOT department before I designed it. However, because of that consent decree, we're required to have an additional separation of the water table and a required additional filter to clean the water, additional depth of your filter because of that enhanced treatment criteria. Now that drives the drainage system deeper into the ground. This site's pretty flat. This site has no natural outlets other than that culvert area. It does all drain southwest, east, early, and there's a swale like over here that the existing along the railroad's almost bermed up. So basically what I'm saying is that additional depth to treat the stormwater necessitated a lower outlet elevation. That low outlet elevation is found, luckily it's where the water goes already, to that corner of the site. But I wouldn't have gone into the buffer if I did not need the additional elevation, and I can't raise the site without Right now I have a couple of small retaining walls around the perimeter. We can't raise the site and raise the outlet because it'll create retaining walls which violate the zoning ordinance because of the height of the wall. And so for those reasons, these are minimal wetland impacts, but we try to minimize them. And we've looked at other design alternatives that don't necessarily work in this particular case due to this unique condition, so to speak.
Where's your snow storage proposed to be?
That's shown on the site plan, but it was in this area here. We've left a level area. It's showing trees in through here, but we've graded it off as a level area. It's roughly 10 to 12 feet wide so that this could be plowed over here. This all would be plowed over here. And then this area would be plowed into this area in the middle. There's a drainage pond actually here. So I was gonna have them plow the snow into the upland because you have two wetlands down here.
That was one of my questions. I did see the snow storage it was on page 19 of the site plan that we were given. There's an abundance of it I see on this plan, but it looks like it's all separated. Is there curbing that separates all the snow storage from the impervious surfaces? So I guess my question is, as the snow storage melts, does it find its way to the infiltration systems, or is it?
In this area, in this area you can't see, but you can see some head walls. There's a pond here. So that snow would be drained and treated, that runoff, via filtration. So some of the contaminants would be stripped. And then in the other areas, this is all graded. This sits up high. This is where that picture was that I was showing. It drops off. This is like a little bowl, and that sits up high. So this area is designed to drain into the road where there's catch basins, and there's an underground system here that would be collected. And this area also slopes down. So this snow storage would be trapped in the catch basin. So there's curbing around the whole perimeter of the site. And that runoff would be infiltrated from the snow melt in all those
Okay.
locations. That's at this point the design. And then we'd windrow it if they wanted to windrow it along the railroad because like it's bermed up high, it melts back into the road. And if they have run out of space, they'd have to move it, but they can't store it anywhere within the Aquifer Protection District because that's a violation of the ordinance. You're not allowed to. There was also an interest from the town of Merrimack there's an easement over here for snow storage for King Street that they never used, but they push snow. They may push snow down this slope, although there's a gate. So I'm working with DPW, and so we're going to allow that to be leveled off so that if they can plow King Street and plow it into this strip of landscaping on our project, on our site, vis-a-vis, there was an existing easement that will be extinguished. That was for such things as maintenance, winter maintenance.
Mm-hmm. In one of the site plans, the page 8, it showed it showed 4 infiltration systems, the StormTech infiltration systems, but it said there were 5. Where is the 5th one at?
You said this was page 8. I'm trying to get to that. So here's the grading and drainage plan. So this here is an underground system. It's capturing, that's one system that's got the building and some of the parking lot here. There's a second system, smaller system up here, and that just captures this there's a grade break like through the middle. So that's treating this quadrant. That's 2. There's a small system right here. I say small, but they're tall. These are 6 feet to 7 feet tall. These are the StormTech SC MC 4500s. So there's a system here. So that's a 3rd underground system. And then I have,
It's one along the bottom there.
there's 2 here, large systems. You can see this, it's like faint, but it's this large area. There's a 4th underground system. This is a fifth underground system here. They're close together, but because of the piping configuration, we split those. And then we have one surface pond that I talked about we plowed into that, and that captures some of that parking for trailers.
I see.
That's a surface filter pond with a outlet, an under drain outlet, because the water table is high. So that's the 5. And the reason for the underground systems is just the site grades, like it's low, it's pretty much low right in this area at the loading dock, because you have a negative 4-foot reveal just to create the loading space. So that kind of sets the drainage. And because the site is flat, primarily flat throughout that, most of it, except for when you get up near Herrick Street, our hands are tied with trying to put surface ponds in and things of that nature. So we do it where feasible. In this case, it was not feasible to do surface ponds everywhere. But this will definitely reduce the runoff to that culvert. I did have the drainage report. I know there was a reduction in the peak flow to that for all storms modeled. And then all the other abutting properties essentially received no runoff to the other abutting properties.
So the expansion of this is going to have all internal to that new facility? There's going to be no external chemical storage or anything like that,
No.
or waste storage. It's all internal.
Yeah, for the yep. It's all of it occurs inside. They do not store, other than the chemicals or any of the materials, outside. The water, that they don't use water for either process. So this there are not any water processes used in the new building for refining or the recycling. It's all like manual disassembly, dry stuff. There are blast. So there are blast furnaces inside. There's exhaust from those, dust and things that's captured via dust collection systems. And there's no. This is a statement from Colt Refining that they prepared for me related to that. So they plan to have induction melting furnaces in a small unit of the new building where they're doing the refining. But in terms of the exhaust, they install a dust collection system to remove the particulates. There's no air resources permitting or any discharges to the air or any type of harmful releases of gases or other.
So there's no need for a spill plan or anything like that?
I don't think that for any type of the spill prevention and countermeasure plan, that they're storing regulated substances in those quantities in this building. I can verify that, but I'm not aware of the requirement for the SPCC.
Okay.
I believe that their current building, they also do not have that requirement.
That would be a great thing just to have a final note on the plan somewhere, something about that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
If
so
they
we
need
so
to
we
produce
answer-
one,
right.
definitely, we would produce that doc. Have one of those prepared by an engineer. And just regarding the sources of the materials, they don't, they're not doing any like smeltering or like that type of heavy industrial processes on the site. The sources of the material for the industrial fabrications, that they use gold, silver, platinum, palladium. They recover the precious metals of that from the materials. They process that they call it induction melting. Then they send the material off-site via the trucks, the enclosed trailers, to smelters. There's only a few smelters, they say, in the world, so that all the heavy industrials not a part of this project. And like I said, there is a dust collection system. There's no air. It's not to the level where they trigger any air resource permitting from DES or anything of that nature.
Perfect.
That was a planning board question as well at the conceptual level. So
Did anyone take over Gina's role of checking out all the plants?
I saw the fertilizer note in here. Thank you for specifying no phosphate fertilizer, and it went on to say you're not going to do it. You're going to test soils first, and we always encourage that. Don't pay for it and use it if you don't need it.
And the Green Snow Pro.
I didn't see, is Green Snow Pro mentioned in here?
I don't think I specified the use of one, although, so we haven't
Yeah.
specified that. However, we can put a recommendation that they do hire a certified Green Snow Pro operator.
Just for their own,
They say-
benefit. It gives you some liability. It takes away some liability requirements, so it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile to look at.
Takes away like a lot of liability, as
Yeah.
long as you have a record that you're doing it,
Right.
which is the key point of it.
Right.
So that is a recommendation of the Concom that I'm hearing is that we utilize a Green Snow Pro. That's not a problem.
that was more about the invasives and the planting schedule.
So anyone look at
I
that?
didn't get a chance to look at it all. So
Yeah, in keeping with the Green Snow Pro, we always make the recommendation, make sure, you would like to make sure that the site plans, and it may have been there already, and I apologize, I didn't scrub them in detail enough to know that, but
No problem.
just that you're planting natural species.
We'll have our landscape architect check that.
yeah.
Generally, it's in one of these notes, no
Yep. No, it's
no invasive species. It's there?
no one wants to be the one that brought the next invasive species in.
I know my yard at home is all the barberry stuff. So it's,
Mhm.
Yeah, the cooperative extension, UNH cooperative, they did a good job of keeping up that list of invasives and watch lists. So as long as you reference that,
We'll reference the UNH list. I do have in my our drainage report, in the operation and maintenance plan section, a statement about invasives that talks to identifying them and the removal of them and who to contact if those are. So if you look at we'll look at the drainage report at the back of it, that's also mentioned in the drainage report as well.
Great.
Although the contractors don't always, people don't always, it's such a big report. Stuff can get through the cracks, unfortunately.
Anyone else? Any questions?
I have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Will we get a copy of this?
Of which one?
it should be in the report and it should be in the email.
Was
Yeah.
it?
It wasn't in the hard copy.
You know what it was? It didn't go out with the original. It came out today.
Oh, okay.
There was an addendum.
That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, there was an addendum to the original packets that had that. No one else? Well, what I'll do, sir, is I'll outline these few concerns we had, and I'll send it to the planning board, let them know you came, you spoke to us. We had, we wanted you to see the Green Snow Pro addressed and a note about not planting any indigenous, and I'll get that off to them tomorrow, so they'll have that.
Indigenous is good, invasive's bad.
Invasive, yes, yeah, so, yeah.
I get you. I understand.
I'll proofread that memo before I send it.
Okay.
Never would have.
You'll have a wild look at this.
Bittersweet everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'll get that off to them tomorrow.
no
I'll let them
problem.
know you came here and answered all our concerns.
Okay, well, I appreciate the time, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for going through everything with me.
And just because we, a procedural note, just because we do have, we're thankful to have new faces here, and we do have several of them. Even if you're not a voting member, by all means, collaborate with us if you have questions. I think some of us have typecasted ourselves where Gage and I frequently ask the stormwater questions, but yeah, if you have questions and we try to limit our feedback in these, the planning board's going to talk to him about the appropriateness of this project at this place, but really where they rely on us is to give them feedback to outline any concerns about stormwater runoff. Certainly if we see that the post development numbers are higher than the pre-development numbers, those sorts of things, we just want to ask questions about it. Well, thank you very much. You have a wonderful night. All right. Also moving on under new business. If there aren't any objections, I'd like to move the social media thing up in the batting order, only because we have Nick here from Merrimack TV, and rather than hold him hostage for longer than necessary, I'd like to move him up, and we'll handle that next. There are a couple items in your packet. Hopefully you saw. One was something Karis put together, titled "Ideas and Thoughts for Social Media." And another one was terms and conditions of use for the town of Merrimack social media sites. And Nick is here, and if you want, Karis, you want to just, since this was your brainstorm, you want to talk to us a little bit about the what we were trying to do here?
Yeah, so we would like to use, after discussion, we would like to use, create a social media account in order to communicate with and educate the public. I think people don't know this commission exists. A lot of people, and other people just don't know what they do. And yeah, so on the document I provided, the ideas and thoughts for social media, these are all just brainstorming. But suggested uses: educating about native and invasive species, and educating on terms like invasive versus weedy, making sure people know what it means to be invasive, and invasive versus indigenous, sharing events, and it would be might be a good way to harness volunteers for projects. Announcing our meetings so that people know when we're meeting or when meetings are canceled quickly and easily. And then posting links to our meetings and to minutes. So just communication, really.
Excellent. And Nick, I know you looked it over and had some ideas, and some thoughts and suggestions.
Sure. For those that don't know me, I'm Nicholas LaValle. I'm the town of Merrimack's Media Services Coordinator. We brand ourselves Merrimack TV. And for the past 2 years, or just about 2 years now, I established an admin social media presence specifically for the town of Merrimack, but I'm also an admin or a co-administrator of a number of town-related social media accounts, notably the police department's Facebook page, Merrimack TV, obviously, the town, as I mentioned, but also Parks and Rec, Department of Public Works, and I established and admin the Town Center Committee's Facebook page as well, and I'm a member of the Town Center Committee in my capacity here as the Media Division Department Head. What Karis said, I thought the email was great, and the fact that you had this outline for your ideas and thoughts on how you'd use your social media accounts, I thought was excellent. I didn't have that going into the Town Center Committee, so that was refreshing to see that you already did this legwork, and I thought what you wrote was fantastic. One thing, I mean, as an outline, what I saw as uses really spoke to me as your purposes or objectives, and I made note to that in an email to Steve and Stephanie in Community Development. But everything that you want to do falls in line with how many of the town of Merrimack departments use their social media accounts. So I had passed along to Steve and the Community Development Department the town's terms and conditions of use of town of Merrimack social media sites. From what I understand, this kind of terms and conditions, it's kind of a policy, but this is for the town's page, town department pages. So I think that as long as the social media presence that you're looking to establish as the Conservation Commission kind of falls in line with what the terms and conditions of the town of Merrimack social media sites, this document, I don't see any sort of issue. I think it's a positive, wonderful thing that you're lucky to have someone on your board that's willing to do the work. The town manager, Paul McCallie, thought it'd be a good idea for me to sit in on your discussion. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, or the questions and considerations that came up in your outline here. So if you have any questions for me,
Would like to start. I know we've kicked this can down the road for a couple of years now. In large part because we didn't have anyone volunteering to be the power user of.
I thought you said because we're old, but.
I think they're
You said it much nicer.
I think this was something that you talked about when you were still meeting via Zoom back in 2020.
Yeah.
Because we were adminning those Zoom meetings for all of the boards and committees, and I think this had come up a number of times, so
So-
it has been a while.
Creation of these accounts, is it, I mean, because we are a town appointed board, so anything we create at this level, does it, not that I want to exclude you, but it needs to include you as part of it? Is that right?
What I suggested in the email was, just as I mentioned, I'm a co-administrator of all those Town of Merrimack pages that I had mentioned. That more or less fell into my lap just as a couple of years had gone by, where we had different departments that had different social media accounts.
Right.
I went before the council in December 2021 and pitched the idea to establish a social media account for the Town of Merrimack. So when I did that, other departments added me to their accounts as a co-admin. But I hardly post in any capacity. Like I don't post weekly to the Merrimack Police Department page, for instance. I'm just going to use them as an example. I would say I post as needed. If there's something like a road closure that the DPW sends out, then I'll log into the police department's page. And then as the police department, I'll share a piece of content from the Department of Public Works. Or if Merrimack TV produces a video about Mac the Comfort Dog, I may log into the police department's page and cross-post that video. So it's coming, so that, clip of Mac the Comfort Dog is coming from, the police department. But that's seldom. I don't kind of abuse that power by any means. I let the department heads who administer those pages. So
I personally would like to make sure that we have,
Well,
you
what
or
I-
someone like you.
An accountability
yeah,
partner.
well, just to keep all the pages, with a certain synergy. I mean, we want them to operate in confluence.
yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like Kara said, that way there is some accountability there. There's another set of eyes on the pages.
Yeah.
In case I do something stupid, which
Or in
I
case
would
you're
never
out of town
intentionally
for a
do,
week.
but
Right, and I think that might be something more likely to happen. Is that if you're out of town or you don't have
Right.
internet service and you were to reach out or send, you were to reach out somehow by phone and say, could you post?
if I'm on maternity leave for 2 months.
Sure.
You going to be?
Yes.
So
Congratulations.
so that could be a reason for me to post something.
Okay.
If and that sort of thing has happened. Don Twamala is the new director of public works. When the director of public works left us earlier this year, and Dawn was hired as the department head, she was not so social media savvy. She administers that account, but I've had to help her a number of times to make sure that things are posted. So it would work the same exact way.
So I actually had a couple of questions for Karis and the broader committee under the uses. The first one, you talk about education about native and invasive species. There's a whole other range of topics that is the Conservation Commission we could talk about. The state of New Hampshire has an excellent 2 or 3 page online brochure about drainage management on suburban lawns and so on. And we should do that. And in general, for the rest of the items, would those also include for the subcommittees? Should we go down there, or should we wait?
I guess
for
that
them to
was
do their
kind
own?
of my first question, is like, if we have a social media account, does that mean the subcommittees come up through us? The subcommittees have their own social media account? I think ours is going to be relatively formal, so to speak, would be part of the town, but the subcommittees are not, they're appointed by us.
I
They're
think
not
it
really
would.
appointed by the town, so they're not really considered town.
I think it would make
Boards.
sense for them to be through us because
That's
it's all
what I-
conservation
Yeah,
commission
That's
projects.
kind of what I was assuming. And you talk about posting links to the meetings and announcing the calendar, et cetera. Why not announce all of them? If we're
Yeah.
announcing one set of meetings, why
It
shouldn't
would
we
be great,
announce them?
yeah. Because I mean, if we had a single, I mean, that's one of the things that we've had a problem with in the past is people, how do I find out about that committee? How do I find out about that committee? How do I find out about
Yeah.
that one? And it's,
And
you know.
especially tying to open positions. Most of the subcommittees are struggling to get members, and I think a lot of people in the town just don't even realize that they exist, much less that they need members. And this could be sort of a place that would gather an audience,
Right.
and we could say some things about.
Could we arrange, it sounds like you have lots of knowledge about things that can be of like education related items. Can that be, I don't know what you call it, like a breakout group, not a breakout group, but like it's
I
less
have
than a
never been on
quorum.
Facebook in my life, so I know not.
No,
working
just
group.
a working group, just to get together, less than a quorum, so just like two people,
Okay,
right?
who's two?
What, or two or three?
Okay, who's two?
Oh, did you just say I'm two? I am two, but I think young enough, it doesn't matter. Doesn't count. Just to get together and come up with those ideas, or a larger list of ideas for education.
And that's not going to be a static list.
No,
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Content is gonna be an
that's- yeah,
But it
ongoing.
would be great to get a broader starting point.
Because we had a
That an
lot,
option, and are you interested?
Yes, and yes.
Nick, how do the other committees, I guess one of the reasons we've been squeamish about going down this road in the past is, you know, we police ourselves, and when it comes to emails, you know, not replying to the group, not creating a meeting online. Certainly when you're on social media, there's a lot more, exponentially more opportunity for someone to send a question, say, a resident to send a question, and then would become something snowballs and becomes a meeting online.
Right.
How do the other subcommittees do that? They
Well,
just not reply to?
You'd be the first committee, as far as I know, you'd be the first committee-driven Facebook page outside of the town center committee. And even that's not necessarily committee-driven because I'm the admin on it. There's no one else, or there is one other person on the committee that has access, but they don't regularly post or anything. So I'm generally the one generating the content on that page. But I could tell you how things like messages are handled on department pages. We generally don't respond to messages on Facebook. I say generally because we do. I certainly have, and I know that other administrators certainly have. But it's kind of done with a bit cautiously, I should say. So we have it set up on most of the pages where you get an automated response. So if I were to send a DM to a direct message to the town of Merrimack's page or Merrimack TV, for instance, you get an automatic response. It just says, please email. In the case of the town's page, it's a longer note that says, please visit our website and reach out to the department that you're looking to speak with via phone.
So I have a question about that, because I figured that would be the best response, is just to have an automated message. Because I struggle as a resident to know who and how to contact a particular committee or department. So where can the automated message refer them to? Where or
we
who?
got the department, the town of Merrimack department page. It's an official department.
I would say the main line at town hall, and the person
Okay.
who would answer should know where to direct
Okay.
them.
Right.
Because I mean, our phone number is the community development office.
Right, so it could be
Okay.
the community development office.
And that's
Okay.
that's our, our
There's
phone
also, of
number.
course, the town webpage, which could possibly stand a few improvements on some of its accessibility.
Yeah.
But that's why we're not on the town. Well,
Right.
that's what I was told why we're not on the town webpage, is because we're appointed, not elected. So the people that is elected officials, and our pages were always outside of that town of Merrimack website. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what we were told.
Which I guess brings up
Like
another question.
2018.
What would be the future of merrimackoutdoors.org if we went this way?
I would think that would become part of this website.
The management.
Yeah, part of the managed website.
So coordinate the Facebook page with, or what we're doing on the Facebook page with what we're doing on the website and vice versa.
Which also means that then we could use that website as the referral.
Right. But there's no like contact us on that page, right? Oh, no, there is. I think that's how I contacted you. Never mind.
But does it contact our town mailing list for the Conservation Commission as a whole? If so, we need to start disabling reply all buttons.
When I use the contact page, did it go straight to you, Steve?
I think so.
Okay.
Straight to Steve, which is very useful.
Yeah, I think we said it only, we have to go in and tell it who's the commission, who's the
Who's the chair?
chair. And I think it was chair and secretary, I think they went to.
I think so. You're getting them too, aren't you? Al?
Yeah.
And who manages the website? Is that just generally community development?
Stephanie does.
Okay.
She helps us with it. I mean, we were in a spot of desperation. So she rose to that occasion. She's done a nice job with it. I think the intent, there's some great resources on the Merrimack Outdoor website. And that was the intent, was to link people to GIS, link people to the parcel maps. It wasn't necessarily supposed to achieve what I think you're looking to do with
Right.
with a Facebook page.
Maybe that's another thing Andrew and I can discuss, because I think you have experience with web design and
I think the
communication.
website is a huge opportunity for,
so we can
refreshing
talk and bring
communication.
back some ideas to the
And I think decide what purpose each one of those is going to serve.
right.
Because we did for a while ask the subcoms to try to get us content, and we'll put it on there for them. So I mean, this might be a little renewed effort. Would be worthwhile.
Photos, work days.
Okay, so I'm going down the questions and considerations section. We've already discussed messaging. Do we allow the page to comment on posts from other groups? So as a page, would it be acceptable for the page to comment on, say, the Positive Merrimack site or Positive Merrimack Facebook group, forum, with like a link to one of our posts, or with a response like, oh, check out this post from the Conservation Commission, or
I can give you examples of how Merrimack TV, my department, shares content of ours to other groups or pages. We generally don't post comments to forums, we'll say, right? Okay. But I do share, different announcements to, they're almost like local news sites. Like one that comes to mind is Merrimack Happenings, right? So Tomahawks win their football game on Friday night. Sometimes the next day we either have a clip or just a shot of the last shot of the game or something, and we share that to Merrimack Happenings, and where people can watch the replay of that game. But things like forums, I generally don't post or share content to forums per se. I think that would ultimately be at the discretion of your group and how you'd want to represent yourselves.
okay,
But an individual could then share
right.
a post.
Sure.
So I, with my personal account, could then go to the Positive Merrimack forum and post commission.
Yes, you could.
So this actually brings up the larger question. The terms and conditions talk about this explicitly. Your ideas and thoughts really don't. But are we expecting user-generated content? Are we expecting somebody who had a lovely day hiking Wildcat Falls, for example, to post some cool pictures they took?
I think that as a page, they wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
As
Again, I know not how Facebook works.
Right. If it were a group, they would. But as a page, only the administrators can.
as a page, you don't want user content posting to your page because that's easily confused as representing your group.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Fair enough.
This is your opportunity to sort of establish who the Conservation Commission is, what you're charged with, and post the decisions that this commission makes, right? And the activities that you host, and the other things that you do for the community. If you were to allow user-driven content to post to your page, then it could easily be confused to be something that's driven from this committee.
Right.
And then it's gonna need a lot more active moderation too.
Yeah.
That seems very.
a lot
reasonable,
more.
No, thank
which is
you.
why I asked.
A lot more.
I'm not signing up to manage a group.
No, I didn't.
Nice talking like you local.
Say that again.
You could do that.
What's that?
You could do that.
Talk to us. Come on.
There's I'll say this. There's you definitely want engagement on your page. I talk about this a lot with the town center committee, and I talk about this a lot in general with creating community engagement. And with Facebook in particular, if you don't have people commenting on your post or sharing your post, it's probably not going to get seen.
Yeah.
Even by the people who choose to follow your page. You could have, for instance, we have 2,500 followers on the Merrimack TV page. We can post, if we post a still shot tonight of this Conservation Commission meeting, maybe it gets 1 or 2 likes. 2,500 followers of Merrimack TV aren't going to see it. We'll be lucky if 1% of our followers see that. But if I post Tomahawks win on Friday because they had a great game, and it gets 50 likes and it's shared 6 times, well, then a greater percentage of the people who choose to follow the Merrimack TV page are going to now see that in their feed. And that's just how Facebook's algorithm works, and most other social media platforms. That's how these things work. So the more engagement you have, the more likely it is that the content that you post is going to be seen. So you want that engagement, and you want to welcome engagement, and you do want people to comment on the posts that you create, but you certainly don't want people posting to your page.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And a follow-up. How do you respond to comments on your page that are not nice things like, yeah, let's go,
Well, let's say the not nice things, things like, as mentioned in the terms and conditions that hopefully are obvious at this point, disparaging any person of ethnicity, race, age, religious affiliation, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Those sort of things you should delete and remove.
Okay.
You just should, if it's obvious.
Okay.
But if someone just has a differing opinion, I would say ignore it.
Okay. Just let them have their opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, unless it's obviously disparaging,
Okay.
I don't think that. I don't think it's. I think if anything, you could, as a Facebook user, report the person. They may be in violation of Facebook's
rules.
rules. I've generally, we've adminned the town page now for about 1.5 years. I haven't seen anything like that on the town page. I've been a co-admin on all the departments that I mentioned before, and what I've seen in my history with adminning these social media pages, you build up enough of a community that there are people there kind of engaged and commenting to each other, and you'll have enough. I personally feel that you'll find that there's enough positive to come from this that you're not going to see things like that.
Okay.
The other thing too is, if someone posts something you don't like, their name's attached to it. It's now, it's their content.
Yeah.
And unless they have a fake account or a fake name or something like that, and again, that would be a violation of Facebook's policy, so you can report that user. I can't off the top of my head think of an instance in my history with these pages where there's been any sort of major negative interaction.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion?
How much of an effort is this to start, to get it rolling? I mean, what?
It's easy to get rolling, that's for sure.
It's harder to maintain.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've struggled at times with the amount of work that is involved with actively keeping up a page. You know, some of our town pages are more active than others. There's a benefit to sort of being under this umbrella of the town because we can share, sharing each other's content goes a long way. The town sharing something from the Parks and Rec department, who has a very active Facebook presence. Matt and his team at Parks and Rec does a wonderful job with their page and communicating to our residents. It can be a lot of work. It can also be a lot of fun, and there could be a lot of rewards from it. The Merrimack TV page grew exponentially throughout from the start of COVID up until today. We went from, I think, under 400 followers to now having almost 2,500. And it's people who love our resources that we provide to the community, and they're engaged. I gave a couple examples with the Tomahawks coverage, but it's the same when we cover concerts or when we share a new Merrimack moment. Like, the page tends to light up, and people share this content, and it's a means of keeping them informed. One of the things that I would like to offer to the commission once you do get going, if you do have kind of a 2-person work group, I would love to be able to provide some tips and strategy. One of the things that I feel is valuable is sort of knowing, trying to target without paying for paid sponsors, or paid ads, trying to target your audience, right? So if your page, Conservation Commission, makes a point to follow other community-minded pages, then people who follow those other community-minded pages may stumble across your page. It may be suggested to them in pages you may like. So if there's anything that you can do right from the get-go, right when your page is established, is find those, from the page, follow, local nonprofit groups, things like the Rotary Club, things like the MYA or Merrimack's Quarterback Club.
So there is a benefit to this page following other pages.
A tremendous benefit. And I wouldn't limit it to, you had an example, other conservation sites. I think that's great, but you want people from Merrimack to know that the Merrimack Conservation Commission is now on Facebook and has established a presence. So follow, those local entities, especially those that have a larger following.
I've managed social media in the past for some nonprofits, and I can tell you, whatever working group we have a little bank. There's stuff we can build a bank of resources, images from our different properties. Very important, because people will respond to that. And also following the local stuff. Because sometimes I think I'm targeting one group and I end up hitting another. But keep an eye on the page so that you see the kind of people who are responding, and then we can target better. But there's content that we have that nobody else can provide, starting with images of our properties. And even in the history of some of them, have a little bank of little stories. Did you know?
And I
bring
think
people in.
a small something at the kiosk of each of our properties, managed by the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Want to know who we are? Give a QR code for the Facebook group.
Excellent.
Because right now, all the QR codes take you to the map. So we could kind of back it up, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't see anyone no one's registering reservations about this idea.
No, I think it's a good idea.
No, in fact, I think once we get it fleshed out, a lot of this we could probably push down to the subcommittees, and they would probably appreciate the work that's put into this and maybe follow on with it.
Your subcommittees may also be able to provide you with quite a bit of additional content.
I know at least one that can. Although we may not want to advertise Wildcat Falls too much more. We're already kind of drowning under our own popularity.
Well, thanks, Karis. we'll run with this. It's probably something, once we get it up and running, we'll probably want to put it on an agenda every so often. No. And thank you, Nick, for coming. I think we will take you up on that and
Sure.
make you an admin also for this.
Yeah,
Thanks.
please do. Once Karis gets things going, if you just want to give me a call, we could do it over the phone where you can make me an admin. And again, it's just another set of eyes, accountability, and in a pinch, you need something. The other thing too is, I may share something but only if it's pertinent to the Conservation Commission.
That's great. Well, we certainly appreciate your feedback and really appreciate you coming
Absolutely. Great seeing everybody.
Thanks, Nick.
Take
and
care.
answering all our questions. All right. Let's see. Okay, moving on. We'll go back up to item number 2, the annual Land Conservation and Investment Program Survey of Wasserman Park. Want to talk to us about that, Eric?
Okay, so for the newer members here, or you have not been on the Wasserman Walk, in 1989, the town of Merrimack purchased Wasserman Park through the Land Conservation Investment Program, which is the state-provided funds for us for municipalities throughout the state to purchase conservation land. As part of the agreement, one thing we do is we do an annual walk or annual survey inspection of the property. We usually save that inspection for the fall because less foliage means it's easier to see through the property and see what's really going on in there. It's a walk through the property. We start with the trails, but we also occasionally approach the boundaries to make sure there's no boundary encroachments or anything like that. So we are there to record any issues or changes to the property, boundary encroachments, new man-made alterations like tree cutting and new trails, new natural alterations like something from flooding or tree blowdowns, any new structures or changes to existing structures, damage to trails or recreational infrastructure, any notable features we're finding. I know that one thing that's been coming up is a patch of burning bush that has been growing for a long time and sort of like too big for us to really even do anything about. But so that's one thing that we take a look at. So what we're doing here today is just to schedule when we're actually going to do that. Usually Saturday is the best day for everyone. The upcoming Saturdays are October 14, October 21, the 28th, November 4th, and November 11th. I'll say that October 14th is probably too soon, but I'm not available that day anyways. October 28th is the annual Halloween party at Wasserman. That's at 12, which is usually right abuts to the end of our walk. So, and we had that last year. It was kind of a hassle getting out, so probably avoid October 28th. So October 21st and November 4th and November 11th. Right, okay. November 11th is Veterans Day. I don't know if that affects us at all.
That's Veterans Day, so.
Okay. Well, you can also push it to November 18th.
What's the wrong with the 21st?
Oh, nothing's wrong with 21st. Yeah.
Why? Andrew, did you raise your hand? Oh, no. Okay.
It's not an event that everyone has to attend. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, a lot of us go every year just because it's an
It's just
excuse
a
to get out of the house
It's interesting.
and go for a walk. And
Yeah.
it's a nice piece of land. And
Yeah.
Gage and Eric are always fantastic tour guides.
I wouldn't mind seeing one of these
Yeah.
in progress.
Well, in Wasserman Park. If anyone hasn't walked it, it's you drive by it all the time. You're like, oh, it's Wasserman, and then you go on there. Wow, this is very different than what I thought. I just drove by on the road. This is it's
You
quite
see the
different.
Parks and Rec part, but you don't see
You don't see the rest of it.
conservation
It's an actually pretty big property, and it's got a lot of topography. It's really interesting piece.
21st?
21st?
Anyone have a better idea? No. And this is one since since we're generally, there are more than four of us almost always there, even in years that weather hasn't cooperated, we always want to make sure we plan this and put it on the schedule. Just, we're not going to conduct business there, but there will be a
It will be
quorum there,
considered a
so.
meeting, yeah.
I will
It's
not
considered
be
a-
there, so somebody please be sure to take notes. It does not have to be extensive. I mean, whoever takes it, just who was present, was anything unusual seen, and submit it to Stephanie like it's regular minutes.
And
Is there-
nobody say anything, so we don't have to write it down.
Is there a particular time, or will you just announce the time? at some point?
Last year was 10 a.m. That usually works. It's usually a 2 hour, the whole thing, a little less than 2 hours.
10 a.m., October 21st.
Can I just,
Nope.
is this something that's exclusive to the committee or?
No.
the
No.
commission?
Nope, anyone can come.
Okay.
We just do caution people that if anyone wants to join us, we're going to be walking in the woods,
Yes.
off trail, stumps, rocks.
We have
Will
to
it
tell
be a
them that.
dog-friendly event?
Yeah, yeah. It's just that we just want to make sure that we just caution people that if you're not apt or adept to be walking up and down hills and not necessarily terra firma, this is probably not the best time for to go for a walk in the woods with us. We go up trail, we go find holes and mud and rocks and things that have fallen down. So
Do you have a provision if it's like every other weekend raining? I mean, like torrential rain?
It hasn't come up when I've
yeah,
been here.
we've not canceled this yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We've
been
walked in
We've been
snow.
in some great weather and we've been in some crappy weather.
But yeah, and then at the outcome of this, we generate a feedback. Eric's done it every year. He plots our route and we generate a report and we send it back to the state, which is our obligation when we accepted this money. Way back when we said we would go out and do this survey every year. All right, well, so it is. I'll ask
21st.
community development to put
At
that
10
on our
o'clock,
calendar.
is there?
Yep. What's next? We've done social media, or no, memorial bench placement. Andrew, you want to
Yes.
talk to us about this?
Excuse me. So the Michael O'Verm Memorial Foundation is very active in helping out in Wildcat Falls. For those of you who are not aware, Michael O'Verm was a high school student here several years ago who was on the cross-country team and ran Wildcat Falls pretty much every day for his many years, and he died tragically and suddenly. And there's a memorial foundation set up in his honor, managed by his family, that provides many things around town, but also does a lot of help within Wildcat Falls, trail work days, maintenance and improvement days, and they already have 2 memorial benches placed in Wildcat Falls, and they would like to place a third. They found a new spot they like. And after far too long trying to research getting a bench there, they've settled on a particular vendor, and the foundation will be providing the bench, paying for it, and for the transportation and installation of it. So I understand that counts as accepting a gift. So it needs to be approved. So it's a standard granite bench with a 4-foot wide seat and the 2 legs underneath with a bunch of engraving on it. And the total cost they're looking at is $2,760.
Where was the proposed place? Location?
If you're familiar with the park, it's right along the river on the North Loop Trail. There's sort of a very open wooded area there with just widely spaced mature trees, and there's a nice flat spot with a good view of the river, and that's the spot. It's logistically challenging to get a 600-pound granite bench there, but this vendor claims they can do that.
How would they do it? Do you know?
They have what looks like a military spec hand truck with an engine built into it that drives the wheels. And they claim, I believe they've seen what they're looking at, and they claim that they can get the bench there.
So
Without cutting trees, without
Without cutting trees, yep.
So any gift or donation, I mean, the town council would need to approve that. How would they want to do this, Andy? Would they want a note from us or a recommendation?
Yeah, just Paul put it on the agenda, and then it comes in front of the town council. Usually, just very procedural. We do it all the time.
Okay.
Would we need the Laverne family to be there or anything, or would we simply?
No, I can talk to, we just put it on the town council agenda. It won't make Thursday. Yeah, I think it's too late to make Thursday. I can ask Paul, and if it is, then it'll be the following town council meeting 2 weeks from then. But yeah, I can speak to it, and it shouldn't be an
If you
issue.
need, I can forward you the particulars about the vendor and the prices.
It would probably be helpful, but
All right.
Andrew, just in the logistics, if you could just make sure before they set off, it's all fueled up and topped off, and so we're not trying to add gas or oil while it's out in the woods.
We should know when that deployment is going to take place, just so we can let
Yeah, let people
let
know.
everyone know we've authorized the motorized
Yep,
Right.
vehicle
exactly.
to be there. we know
And
what's
one of
happening.
us will have to be there to open the gate to let them through.
Mhm. Mm,
Perfect.
fantastic.
Do they have a time frame that they're looking to do it just as soon as possible? They're just waiting for the approval, or?
I think as soon as possible. I'm guessing they're hoping to avoid snow because otherwise it would have to wait until after mud season and into early summer of next year.
It's fantastic.
Thank you for coordinating that.
Mm-hmm. That brings us to the last item under new business, and that's the Horse Hill trail. It's not really just Horse Hill, I guess it's trail use and bridge restrictions. So some background on this. The reason we've added this item to discuss at this meeting was there was a horse that went through one of the bridges at Horse Hill Nature Preserve recently. I think it was the bridge that the subcommittee that we approved funds to do some replacements to that bridge recently. I think it was the same one. I'm not completely certain. So
I am not certain if this is the one, but it's one that we've had trouble with before.
I think your previous approval was the replacement at Wildcat Falls, which was
Was it?
done this
No,
spring.
as I know, there was an approval for a replacement of one at Horse Hill, and
last meeting.
Mark's
Yeah.
actually been out there working on it. And I think this has happened since then, the incident that gave rise to this.
So we did ask for some feedback and just some input on, what should we put a used, we have some options. We can do, put signs up, used trails at your own risk is a pretty generic one. You can go on Google and see those sorts of signs.
I don't know if we ever, I don't think we ever said that it was Horse Hill Nature Preserve. It doesn't necessarily mean that trails are designed and bridges are designed to hold horses.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That was the issue brought up last time, in that he said he's going to put up signs. It looks like signs have been put up.
It is a fact that equestrian use is allowed there.
yeah, love everybody.
And it's also true that not every bridge in there is designed for horses. It may be appropriate to walk a horse around a bridge at times.
I don't know if any of the bridges are designed for horses.
And this is one that has sustained damage before from horses. I believe this time a horse was injured, and that brought some communication up for that. So the subcommittee is attempting to keep the bridges in order, keep them repaired. But we are building them to the same specs we've used in the past.
Mm-hmm. The town manager did ask the town's legal counsel to just give some input, and they discouraged, by and large, discouraged against putting some specific signing out there. One, because there's no bridge formula to design a bridge. You can design a bridge for an 80,000-pound tractor trailer, and based on the axle spacing and everything else, what it needs to, but I'm not sure that kind of guidelines exist for a horse. Certainly not the sorts of bridges that we're building out there. I think people just need to, use caution when using the bridges, any of the bridges, whether they're on a bike or on foot.
So if I recall correctly, the one bridge I know at Horse Hill, which is near the Beaver Dam, not too far from the entrance, has a sign that says "Walk horse next to bridge." But it can do that because the bridge is only 6 inches off the ground. This does not look suitable.
Right. Well, we want to resist the urge to put too much of that type of signing up also, because if we're telling people to walk horses around the bridge, we might be encouraging people to take their mountain bikes around the bridge. And we don't want to create
We don't want more
paths
erosion.
around our bridges.
An alternative is, of course, to just build the bridge sturdy enough, which would require a third support beam.
And larger pieces of wood than
And
currently
you,
using.
and probably we can't do it with volunteers anymore.
Right.
You probably have to have it certified.
So at any time a user finds a
Yeah.
broken bridge, we want to hear about it.
I think that's the message, Ellen. Yeah.
Please report it to the Conservation Commission and we'll get it to the subcommittee.
We'll do our best to repair these bridges.
And the volunteers who have, you know, will do what they can to keep the bridges maintained.
Because we have a bad bridge right now and going into Greater Woods, but it's so covered with poison ivy, no one will go near it. It's like, just step carefully.
And we've been fortunate that we've had volunteers that have still ambitious about repairing bridges and doing improvements to bridges, and we promptly approve those funding requests when they come to us. I think that's probably the best we can do in the position we're in right now.
The recent Wildcat Falls for bridge replacement was actually fun.
And send a picture of it to Karis. All right. Moving on, other business. We have no items listed under other business. Brings us to approval of the minutes for September 25th. Would someone like to make a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second. Motion by Gage. I seconded. Who would like to go first?
I have nothing.
Ellen has nothing.
Actually, I do have members of the commission absent. I believe Danielle had them sworn in at that point.
Okay. Good, we'll make that amendment.
And that was, I'm sorry, that would be an absence?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
I wasn't
she was
here.
not
So it was a
Yeah.
small meeting. It was a very small meeting.
Okay, got it.
And I'll just say for the benefit of the new members, when we vote to approve the minutes, sometimes if you're voting that, if you're voting that night that we approve the minutes, if you weren't at the previous meeting, but you watched it, on Merrimack TV or something like that, you don't necessarily, it's up to you. You can abstain from voting to approve those minutes, or you can vote to approve the minutes. I mean, if you watch that's the guidance we've been given, and that's the way we've operated. So if you find yourself in that position. But with that said, we have just one amendment to the minutes, so all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Motion carries 6-0. 2-1.
I'm abstaining.
Oh, you abstained. All right, I thought my math was off. Okay, thank you. 6-0-1.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I was obviously not there. They're gonna replace the gate at Mitchell Woods, going down that access path?
Great question. Yeah, Merrimack Village District. That's the gate you're talking about,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so you're gonna, they're gonna apply for the grant,
Okay.
to fix that gate and do some repairs to the fence immediately around the well, which are both in dire need of replacement and repair.
Oh, there's no fence around the wall yet.
Isn't there one right up about
Well,
10?
there's fence
That's-
going into the property.
Oh, okay. And he sent us a picture of something.
Not around the well, right.
Okay.
There's a gate.
Yeah.
Where, I guess there's a frame of a gate at the entrance.
They hope to replace that.
That would be great.
That gate entirely.
That is, I think, one of the last parcels that was considered a tree farm. We have not participated in the tree farm project for a while, but the sign is still there. So
Really?
I don't know if we want to take it down or if we have any obligation to take it down. if we're gonna be, if we're gonna be in there doing something, you can't really see it now because it's so overgrown. But if we're gonna repair that, we may want to look into, this is the right time to take that sign down, because I don't know if we really should even have it up any longer.
Yeah.
So do I understand MVD is getting the grant?
I don't know if they are or not.
Apply for it.
They wanted us to know that they were going to apply for it.
Thank you.
And I did give them the feedback that no, we had no objection to replacing that gate. Someone like to make a final motion?
Before we, just, Andrew was able to get that information to me. I already got it to Paul, so we think we can get it on the agenda and review it Thursday of this week for the bench at Wildcat Falls.
You guys rock.
Wow.
Email went pretty quick.
That would be good. We have a Wildcat Falls subcommittee meeting on the 18th.
Okay,
So,
yeah, so hopefully that'll get on the agenda and be approved this Thursday.
excellent.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We'll make a final motion.
To adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Andrew, second by Gage. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful night.